All right. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm gonna shatter an illusion here.
Do you shatter illusions? Is that possible?
I shatter dreams. You know, I bet you most people, I know most people don't consider me. That's fine. But if I ask you, what do you think? I bet most people would say, I bet you Steiny hates Halloween. I don't hate Halloween. It's fine. If you want to dress up, I'm not one of these guys that have a strong opinion about people who dress up. There are people like me who don't dress up, and they make fun of the people who do dress up. I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I kind of woke up in a haze this morning. I totally forgot until I got on the bus. So I'm doing it in a bumblebee suit, which, to be fair, in San Francisco is not out of the ordinary. And so I did a double take. I was like, why is this guy not? Oh, that's why. And then, of course, I didn't have time. So, no, we are not dressed up today. But Shasky actually had a pretty inside baseball uniform, literally, but costume. Jock Peterson, not bad. Not bad.
He had a handprint across his cheek.
He did.
And
courtesy of Tommy Pham.
He had a deck of cards. Oh, look at Spino.
The problem is, though, and I love Joe, anytime you have to explain what your costume is, it's bad.
Well,
you can't explain a costume.
I didn't get
you
the
should
visor.
know it immediately.
Yeah.
Well, that's what got me into trouble with a few of our coworkers just during the break.
Already? We've only been here for an hour.
Yeah. It just wasn't apparent what two costumes were. I thought one might have been the Twitter bird. It was actually an owl. And then a wonderful costume, but I couldn't pick a lemur out of a police lineup. I don't know what they look like. So we have an employee dressed as a lemur, and I didn't know it was a lemur.
So I was very close on both of them. The first one, the blue bird suit, I thought it was an Angry Bird.
Okay.
And she's like, no, you dummy, it's an owl, which number one is a bird, so not technically off. And she was also, rude to me, a.k.a. an Angry Bird. Secondly, there's only one lemur that I know of, Zaboomafoo. It used to be like a PBS kids show back in the day. So I thought that our coworker was Zaboomafoo.
Okay.
She did not know who Zaboomafoo was.
Gotcha.
So I stepped out of bounds on both.
The only lemur I know is that great pitcher, Jose Lemur.
Oh, my God.
Nothing?
Oh, my God.
Jose Lima.
Yeah, I pitched for the Royals.
And Astros, I believe. Right?
He stunk.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. Lima time.
That doesn't mean he was, just because he had a nickname, does it?
I'll tell you right now, Lima had some very, very good years. Very good years. Mm-hmm.
I'll be the judge of that.
I got a take that I was wondering.
Oh, he had one good season. You're right.
Jose Lima.
Yeah, he also lost 16 games twice.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
You know what? That's not necessarily a bad stat.
He's Joe Blanton.
Oh, you stop it.
He's a legend.
Hey, Joe Blanton won like 15 games one year.
Yeah, he did.
And he led the league in losses the next.
Yes, he did.
You hate to see it.
So, a lot of praise for the Golden State Warriors right now.
No doubt.
And rightfully so. So I was thinking about last night's game. And who didn't play? Klay Thompson and Jonathan Kuminga. So here's what I was thinking. And look, they're going to need those guys. Absolutely. But if I were to ask, and I asked you already, so I don't want to ask you, hey, Lucas, jump in here. I want to ask you a question that I asked Evan, so that's why I'm not asking him. If I were to ask Lucas, who are the two Warrior players who are the most erratic, let's say? The biggest good game to bad game. Who are the least consistent Warriors, would you say? Right now.
I think it's the two guys who didn't play last night.
I do too.
You wouldn't throw Andrew Wiggins in there?
No, because...
Go ahead, Lucas.
He plays more minutes than Kuminga, so maybe those ebbs and flows would affect your team a little bit more, but I think his defensive effort is more steady than either of the other guys.
Yeah, I think, like, I look at when I look at a player, I say, okay, how is he when he's not very good? Well, Steph's always going to be pretty good. Draymond, even when he's not good, does so many things. In the last year or two, Klay Thompson, when he's not been good, he's been really not good. Like, he's kind of cost the Warriors games at times, not all the time. And Kuminga, over the course of his 2 or 3 years, has made some mistakes that drive Steve Kerr nuts, and that is something that's been an issue. So even though there were out those two guys, in a way they stay solid because they at least didn't play the two guys. I know this is going to sound terrible, but the two guys that weren't in the lineup were the two guys who have the most tendency to have really bad games and take you out of a game. Wiggins is a guy who, and to me, Wiggins in a way is worse than that, because Wiggins can just afloat, and he doesn't even, like, he makes sure to never go one way or the other. So in a way, I'm giving Klay and Kuminga credit because, you know, they're willing to take chances and they put themselves out there. And if Klay shoots 5 for 18, he shoots 5 for 18. Wiggins isn't going to shoot 5 for 18 for the most part. Wiggins is going to go 4 for 11.
I don't know. The reason why I would replace Kuminga with Wiggins in this hypothetical is because, well, one, he plays more, so I think he literally has the opportunity to hurt you more. I think that last season when Kuminga didn't play well, Kerr would just take him out. But I also believe that in his third season, he has a chance to correct some of that. And we've already, like, the one stat I think for Kuminga and Wiggins to look at to see how engaged they are is their rebounding totals. If they're rebounding, then they're probably engaged in the game. But for me, Wiggins, I think we get lost in just the demeanor. And I hope this isn't sounding too harsh, but because he, like, his facial expressions and just his body language is pretty even, I don't think that we notice how much he is or isn't impacting a basketball game because he never seems to be phased.
Right.
But he can be extremely good, and then in a game like Phoenix, to open the year, look like he's completely unplayable down the stretch of a basketball game. Like, to me, in the home opener, the reason why Kuminga was on the floor is, yes, Kerr is trusting him a little bit more. Kuminga had a much better second half than first half, and he's corrected some of those bad stretches already, which is improvement, but it was more about how bad Andrew Wiggins was playing. And so, to me, if there is a concern for the Golden State Warriors at this point, it's still, to me, what are you going to get on a night-in and night-out basis from Andrew Wiggins? Because so far, we haven't even seen what the ceiling is for him, and we're still wondering how much last year has lingered onto this. He's the only guy that I can point to and say with a guess that last season might be impacting the way that he started this year.
Are you talking about Klay or Kuminga?
I'm talking about Wiggins.
Oh, Wiggins.
I'm talking about Andrew Wiggins.
Gotcha. My bad. Yeah. Well, no, and this is a great point from the YouTube chat from Zicky01, Suzuki, I don't know. I'd argue Poole was more inconsistent than Klay or Kuminga, and that's a great point. Like, that's a great point. So you replace the most volatile player on the team with the steadiest. How about this? You replace Jordan Poole, one of the most volatile players in the league, one of the most erratic players in the league, with maybe the most steady player in the league. And so all I'm saying is, for Klay and Kuminga, with this particular team and Chris Paul, like, they don't have to shoot. They don't have to go 5 for 19. And I know Kuminga, that Klay doesn't have to have those games. If it's not going for him, it's not going for him. Like, Klay's got to figure out a way that when he's not making shots, he doesn't hurt you. And that's the other thing I keep coming back to with Jordan Poole, Evan, is you replace Jordan Poole at crunch time with Chris Paul at crunch time. They're going to be steadier down the stretch of games. They have to be.
And even when those players come off the bench in the first, or maybe in Poole's case, sometimes the second quarter, there's no question mark. Like, right. Jordan Poole creates for himself. This is not a bash Jordan Poole segment, but at this point in his career, he's a guy that play makes for one. Chris Paul can create for himself if he needs to. he can create for the other 4 on the floor. And that, to me, with the Golden State Warriors specifically, is so much more valuable because of how they play, of how they try to move the ball, of how much they try to involve everyone on the floor offensively. And I think that also impacts the other end of the floor, because if you're just sitting there watching a guy go one-on-one and try and take deep threes and not play defense on the other end, like, you're not encouraged yourself to be engaged as much as you have to, as much as Chris Paul demands you to be engaged when he's on the floor. You always have to, like, there was actually a play, I forget if it, I think it was last night, where Chris Paul, he had a turnover, and it was because he threw a no-look lob to Trace Jackson Davis, and TJD just didn't see it coming.
Right.
But that's a situation where I'm sure the next time it happens, TJD will be ready for that lob, because anytime Chris Paul's in your vicinity, he might pass you the basketball. When Jordan Poole is on the floor, you're only going to get a pass from him if he needs to get bailed out of a possession.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. We got a little bit of Warrior news, actually, and that is that the Warriors have picked up the 4th-year options on Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. No surprise there. Both those guys are in their 3rd years, so you have to make a decision whether to pick up their 4th-year contract. The 4th year, it's a team option, and the Warriors are picking up the team option on both those players. So that's some good news for each of them.
Oh, just a reminder, for those wondering, I'm in because Goo has a doctor's appointment today. He'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah. And he'll you know Goo. He'll fill you in on all the details.
Oh, yeah.
I'm tired of getting pushed around. He'll tell you everything you need to know and then some. Let's go to Don. Don's in Berkeley. What's up, Don? How you doing, man?
Things about the Chris Paul fit. One is that when Steph Curry says it's going to work out, I trust Steph because he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and he's the guy that makes the whole thing work. So when Steph said Chris Paul is going to be a good fit, I trusted that even as much as I trusted Steiny saying that it would work out. And the second thing is, what if Chris Paul is such a good fit that they don't want to just have him for a year, and then they have to pay him a lot of money and don't have the money that they were thinking they might be spending on Klay Thompson's extension? That's what I got to say.
Well, Chris Paul has a non-guaranteed contract for next year at $30 million. So if the Warriors want him next year, they can just have him next year for $30 million. But obviously there's going to be implications to payroll and the rest of the cap. So we'll see what happens there. But Chris Paul's off to a great start, and the Warriors are off to a great start.
Well, and that's why this year is extremely important.
Right.
Well, and really every year from here on out is going to determine the next one. I mean, the only reason Chris Paul is here in the first place is because last season went off the rails.
Right.
If they won the championship last season, Chris Paul wouldn't be on the team. If they win the championship this year, they make a very deep run, then there's going to be some conversations about, do you want to approach that second apron that Joe Lacob said already that he would not go over, and that the Warriors have been making moves to kind of position themselves to get under. And I think that was assuming if all goes wrong, we have the financial flexibility to maneuver and not put ourselves in a position that we're in salary cap hell. Chris Paul gives you the flexibility to not only do that after the season, but then also compete on the court, which so far, like, if you had a question about Chris Paul, what would it be?
It's always
is he going to stay healthy?
Exactly. That's
the only one.
That's the only question about Chris. To me, that's the only question. Isn't that the only question about the Warriors' 4 guys? Steph, Klay, Draymond, and Chris Paul. I kind of lump them all together. I feel like if one of them, if one of them misses a big chunk of games, they're obviously going to feel it. You know what I mean?
But I do think there were questions about the starters last year.
Do you think Chris Paul is more likely to get injured than the other 3? Because I kind of don't.
I would, actually.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just because he's played less games in the last 2.5 seasons. He's also missed time in the playoffs.
True.
So, yeah, and he's older. I mean, he's right. An older player. So, yeah, I would be more concerned about Chris Paul getting hurt than the other 3. But I mean, that's pretty much the question this season with the Warriors is how how is age going to impact the middle and the end of their season, which is why I do think that even though, I think they should have beaten New Orleans last night because they were missing some big pieces. Houston's a team you probably should beat. Sacramento even is a team that if you kind of look up and down the Kings roster and coming off of last year's 7-game series, you think that that's a team that is beatable for Golden State even on the road. But stacking these wins is not just significant because of what happened last year, but also if and when injuries do come or age demands that some of these players have to miss 10 to 15 games throughout the regular season, you're going to need to fall back on the cushion of these early season victories, which was something they could not do last year.
Right.
That was, to me, the bigger reason why Curry's absence and then most notably Wiggins' absence really hurt them. They were a 44-win team, but if they hadn't started out on the road 0-8 or 0-9, then you're looking at 47 wins probably.
Right. And that's a big difference between 44 and 47, 48. 650 on the Comcast Business text line. Steiny, who runs the Warriors' second group when Chris Paul gets load management days, which is eventually going to happen? I mean, I know you're going to laugh, but Corey Joseph. I mean, Corey Joseph to me is a poor man's version of Chris Paul. He doesn't turn the ball over either. Corey Joseph. Now, he's not going to be flashy, but I think Corey Joseph's going to play a little bit this year. And he's not a world beater, but again, the Warriors, I'm a big fan of players who don't get you beat. All right. And Corey Joseph isn't a guy who gets you beat. Is the way by the way, I have to do my, I'm not going to make it a daily thing.
John?
No, but the NBA.
Oh.
Nobody balls anymore. Klay Thompson, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Ingram, Kyrie Irving, Bam Adebayo, De'Aaron Fox, Lonzo Ball, Jose Alvarado, Bradley Beal. Nobody plays anymore.
Jared Vanderbilt.
Nobody plays anymore.
Darius Garland's out tonight.
And Jared Allen probably.
Yeah, hate to see it.
I mean, come on. Seriously. Does that frustrate anybody else? And it's not even one team. I heard on the TV yesterday, my man Fitz and Kalena, Warriors, no Klay Thompson, no Jonathan Kuminga. For the Pelicans, no Brandon Ingram, only their best player, and obviously Alvarado's out too. I mean, it's like, come on.
Grand Theft Alvarado.
You got 50-year-old LeBron doing back-to-backs. What are people doing, man? Come on.
Thank you.
By the way, Spadone, I don't think I've ever seen a team in the Orlando Magic airball more three-pointers.
Paolo didn't have a great game. I'll say that. It hurt me as a Paisan.
I thought he was Spanish.
Italian.
His dad's Italian.
Oh, okay.
Paolo.
Oh, yeah, I guess
an Italian
so.
name.
And it's Banchero.
Speaking of what, I don't know what culture, ethnicity. Oh, wait. Pochemski, what did he say he was?
He's lefty.
Polish. I think he's a lefty.
He is. He's lefty.
I do think that he could be a guy. The lefty's a culture.
Benny's lefty, and it's freaking me out.
Hey, don't worry. Lefties look better in everything they do. I have a theory about this.
Lefties also are weird.
No doubt.
There's something weird about lefties. Hate to say it.
Pochemski might be the most steady lefty that I've seen. Because I know.
What about Trace Jackson Davis?
He's also steady.
Yeah. What about?
He doesn't seem too quirky though.
Gary Payton II.
He's quirky.
He is a little quirky. There's no doubt.
In a good way though.
Let's go to what do you say we take Skinny Bob? Skinny Bob wants to talk about the Warriors' second unit. What's up, Bob? How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm great. Hey, I'm really excited about the Warriors, excited about the Niners too, but boy, our second team is second to none. Now, there's a lot of good first teams, and I got a bet with my nephew that our win-loss record's going to be better than the Bucks, and I did that because our second is really looking good, and I don't think any team in the league can match our second team with Chris Paul, and it's all about leadership, and we got some good leaders, and we have some good leaders who can follow also, so not everybody needs the limelight, but Moody, Kuminga, they really excite me. So it's great TV time, and I'm looking forward to these Warrior nights. In Sacramento, I'm going to miss them playing Fox if he can't play, but I'm excited about Warriors.
Yeah, me too, Skinny. Thanks for the call, as always.
I got to apologize to
you should.
to Skinny Bob.
Did you hear about this Spadone
I got
and
to
Lubman?
apologize. So
the Bay Area hasn't heard either.
So everyone that was listening to last week's show knows that Skinny Bob sent golf balls for all the members of the show, and they were personalized.
They were.
They had name tags. There were golf balls specific to each host.
Called me Spumoni. I loved it.
I know. I saw
Spumoni. That was
You did.
incredible. So we go down after the show down to the cafeteria, and I have nowhere to put the golf ball, so I'm just carrying in my hands. I might have had one or two Irish coffee too manys, and I left the golf balls at the bar.
You hate to see it.
I left the golf ball. I apologize, Skinny. I went to go pick them up the next day. They were still there, fortunately. Got them, retrieved them, put them to use. But, Skinny, I apologize. I did forget the golf balls.
And these were apologize. You got them back.
These
no harm,
were
no foul.
These
Well,
were
no,
Volvics.
They were pretty nice.
All right, these were Pro V1s, and they were brand new.
It's like if you leave China at someone else's
Let me tell you
house.
something. I belly up, and I looked at my feet, and I see 30 Pro V1s. I'm not returning them.